detail we will study the scalp. Okay, first we start the introduction of head and neck. Okay, as you know, we will describe what are the landmarks. Although we have studied during the tutorial of skull certain landmarks, but in this lecture we will see forehead, okay, frontal eminence. Okay, here you can see this is the, okay, this part is the forehead. Okay, this is the frontal eminence. Nose. Okay, we will see eye, oral fissure, external ear. This is the supra orbital margin. This is superciliary arch. Okay, we will discuss. Okay, first we will see about the nose. So here you can see this is the root of the nose. This is the dorsum of the nose. This is the tip of the nose. This is the ala of the nose. This is the nares, or you can say the anterior nares or the nostril. This portion is called the columella, and this is about the philtrum. Okay, this is about the nose, external features. We will see eye. So here you can see between the two eyelids, this structure is called the palpebral fissure. Okay, this is the angle of the eye, and we call it the canthi, that is plural, canthus of eye. Eyelid, eyelashes. Okay, now what are the structures seen through the palpebral fissure? So we have discussed palpebral fissure is the area between the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid. Okay, so apex sclera, white in color. Here you can see the cornea, and this is the iris, and this is the pupil in the center. Conjunctiva. Here in this, here you can see over the sclera, this is the bulbar conjunctiva, and underneath the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid there is a palpebral conjunctiva. Okay, and this is called the conjunctival sac. Sac means some cavity, like, so the space between the two is called the conjunctival sac, that is the palpebral conjunctiva and the bulbar conjunctiva. Here conjunctival fornix. So what do you mean by the conjunctival fornix? The bulbar conjunctiva and the communication between the palpebral conjunctiva, that line is called the conjunctival fornix. Okay, detail we will see when we study the eye. Oral fissure. Okay, here you know upper lip, lower lip. Here this is the upper vermilion border, or you can say the mucocutaneous junction, mucus, and this is the cutaneous junction, upper vermilion border and the lower vermilion border. So this is the oral fissure. Okay, this is the angle, or you can say the commissure. About the external ear, this is about the tragus, intertragic notch. This is a Simba concha. This is the triangular fossa, scaphoid fossa, helix, auricular tubercle, or you can say the Darwin's tubercle. This is the antihelix. This is concha, antitragus, and here this is the lobule. So these are the external features of the ear. Now this is the supraorbital margin. Okay, and above it this is called the superciliary arch. Now we will see the scalp. In the scalp we will see what are the extent, structure of the scalp, arterial supply, venous drainage, lymphatic drainage, nerve supply, and we will see applied anatomy when we will see structure of scalp. So during the structure of the skull, one by one layer we will see along with the applied anatomy. What are the extent of the scalp? First, scalp is a soft tissue covering the cranial vault. Okay, we have discussed this is the cranial vault. Above the cranial vault, there is a soft tissue covering, is called the scalp, or you can say it forms the scalp. Anteriorly, supraorbital margin. We know now what is supraorbital margin. Posteriorly, there is an external occipital protuberance and the superior nuchal lines. On each side, this is a temporal lines. Okay, so these are the extent of the scalp. What are the layers of the scalp? So you have to remember the structure of the scalp having S means the skin with hair, C is a connective tissue, or you can say superficial fascia with blood vessels, A for the epicranial aponeurosis, L for the loose connective tissue, and the pericranium. Okay, this figure you can draw. Also here you can see SCALP. So according to the letter you can remember. So it is having the 5 layer. Okay, so S, C, A, L, and P. Okay, so one by one we will see the structure of the scalp. First we will see the skin. Here you also can see the scalp is made up of 5 layers. The mnemonic is SCALP. S means the skin, superficial fascia, that is a connective tissue, deep fascia in the form of epicranial aponeurosis. So A stands for the epicranial aponeurosis or Galea aponeurotica with the occipitofrontalis muscle, loose areolar tissue L, and lastly P for the pericranium. So here you can see skin. Everybody knows skin is a hairy. It has more number of sweat gland and the sebaceous gland. Okay, so what are the applied anatomy of it? So here you can say the bilateral sebaceous cysts are more in the skin. So this is the first applied anatomy related to the skin of the scalp. Second layer is the superficial fascia or the connective tissue. Okay, so this is the superficial fascia. In this figure you can also see it is more fibrous and dense in the center than at the periphery of the head. So it is more dense in the center. It contains many blood vessels. So because of the density of fascia, subcutaneous hemorrhage are never extensive, but inflammation of this layer causes little swelling but much pain. Okay, it is giving much pain and less swelling. Okay, so in this layer there is a much pain is there because of the density of the fascia. Third layer you have to remember aponeurosis, epicranial aponeurosis. This is the epicranial aponeurosis or the Galea aponeurotica with anteriorly one belly and posterior one belly. Anterior one belly is called the occipital belly and the frontal belly, and the posterior belly is called the occipital belly. So epicranial aponeurosis is extend posteriorly with the nuchal line, that is a superior nuchal line. So posteriorly it extends up to the superior nuchal line. Okay, so here this is the epicranial aponeurosis. So here there will be attached. Anteriorly epicranial aponeurosis having the frontal belly. Okay, and frontal belly anteriorly does not have any bony attachment, so it will attach to the some of the fibers of the orbicularis oculi muscle and another muscle, that is a corrugator supercilii. Okay, so this frontal belly anteriorly does not have any bony attachment, so it will attach or it will mingling to the orbicularis oculi and the corrugator supercilii muscle. This occipital belly means posterior part that is supplied by the posterior auricular branch of the facial nerve. Frontal belly is supplied by temporal branch of the facial nerve. So here one of the importance about the layer of the epicranial aponeurosis is that the frontal belly does not have any bony attachment. So any fluid that is present below the epicranial aponeurosis tends to come forward around the eye, and it will produce a condition that is called black eye. Okay, so black eye can be produced, means there is a swelling around the eye, that is called black eye. This occurs because of accumulation of the fluid below the epicranial aponeurosis. So this is the applied anatomy. Okay, this figure you can draw. Now epicranial aponeurosis. About the epicranial aponeurosis, when it cut transversely, then and then gap will produce over the skull. Okay, so transversely cut like this, then and then there will be a gap, otherwise no gap is there. Or in this region also, in the superficial fascia of the temporal region or over this region, if there is any avulsed portion, means in accident, if half of the portion or the sum of the portion of the scalp is avulsed, then you don't have to throw it, but you can stitch it and it will heal well because of the more blood supply. Okay, तो कोई स्काल्प का कोई टुकड़ा अगर कोई एक्सीडेंट हो गया है तो हमें उसको फेंकना नहीं है, कि उसको संभाल के रखना है और हम उसको अगेन से स्टिच कर सकते हैं. ओके, तो दैट इज अबाउट द epicranial aponeurosis or the third layer. The first three layer of the scalp is called the surgical layer of the scalp. Okay, they are also called as scalp proper. Okay, so these are the three layers, that is skin, connective tissue or the superficial fascia, and the Galea aponeurotica or epicranial aponeurosis, also called deep fascia. Fourth layer, that is a loose areolar tissue. Okay, so loose areolar tissue. Loose areolar tissue is made up of loose areolar tissue. That's why the name, that is a loose areolar tissue. So here you can see this layer is called the loose areolar tissue below the epicranial aponeurosis. Loose areolar tissue is known as the dangerous areas of the scalp because the emissary veins which course here may transmit infection from scalp to the cranial venous sinuses. So from scalp to the cranial venous sinuses, they can transmit the infection. Okay, this is the applied anatomy of the fourth layer, that is a loose areolar tissue. Same we have discussed about the black eye. So loose areolar tissue is responsible for any fluid accumulation, and that will become in the around the eyes, and it will produce the black eye. It is also called loose areolar tissue, is also called the, or you can say the septal layer. Why it is called the septal layer? Because of spread of blood. So here you can say the loose areolar tissue because of the spread of the blood in the loose areolar tissue, compression of the brain is not seen. Okay, so this layer is called the safety layer. It is also called the dangerous layer and also called the safety layer. You have to remember. Last layer, that is called the pericranium, as the name suggests, around the skull bone, that is the pericranium. So here you can see this is the pericranium. Okay, here this is the skull. So above this skull there is a pericranium, and here there is also the suture is there. So what happens? This is attached to the skull bone. One condition, if blood will accumulate here, then this condition is called cephalhematoma. If the blood is accumulated in this region, then it will take the shape of that bone. Okay, so here this is a cephalhematoma. So what happens? It will not tend to spread because of the attachment of the pericranium to the suture. ये पेरिक्रेनियम का जो लेयर है वो suture पे adherent होता है, इसके लिए वो ज्यादा स्प्रेड नहीं होता है, वो एक ही जगह पे रहता है. That's why it is called the cephalhematoma, this condition. Caput succedaneous we have discussed. It is because of the rupture of capillary during the vaginal delivery, and it will be succeeded, or it will regain its normal 3 to 5 days after. For this we have some medication or the treatment is necessary for the cephalhematoma. What are the lymphatic drainage of the skull? The anterior part of the skull drain into the preauricular or the parotid group of the lymph node situated on the surface of parotid gland. Posterior part of the skull drain into the posterior auricular and mastoid and occipital group of the lymph node. Here we will see arterial and nerve supply of the skull. So here in front, this is the first we will see the arterial supply. In this figure you can see supratrochlear artery, supraorbital artery. They are the branch of ophthalmic artery. Ophthalmic artery is a branch of internal carotid artery. So in front of the ear there is 3 arteries: supratrochlear artery, supraorbital artery and superficial temporal artery. This superficial temporal artery is a branch of external carotid artery. Behind the ear, posterior auricular artery and the occipital artery. These 3 are the branch of the external carotid artery. So this is about on the both the side it is same. That is about the blood supply. Now we will see the nerve supply in front of ear and behind the ear. So in front of ear 4 sensory, 1 motor. Same behind the ear 4 sensory, 1 motor. So from here if we start, this is the supratrochlear nerve, supraorbital nerve is there, zygomaticotemporal nerve, auriculotemporal nerve, and this is the temporal branch of facial nerve, that is a motor. Behind the ear 4 sensory, first great auricular nerve, lesser occipital nerve, greater occipital nerve and third occipital nerve. These are the 4 sensory nerve. Posterior auricular nerve, that is a motor. That is about the arterial and the nerve supply of the skull. Now we will see the venous drainage of the skull. About the venous drainage, this supratrochlear, these are supratrochlear and supraorbital, they will form the angular vein. Here this is a superior and inferior ophthalmic vein, this is the cavernous sinus, and here they will communicate with the pterygoid venous plexus. Okay, this is the pterygoid plexus, and this is a common facial vein, this is the emissary vein. Okay, so here also you can see this cavernous sinus is also indirectly attached, and here there is a superficial temporal vein, this is a maxillary vein, this is a retromandibular vein, this is a posterior division, this is the anterior division, this is a posterior auricular, and this is the external jugular vein, and this is a subclavian vein, and this is the internal jugular vein. Okay, so likewise this is the venous drainage of the skull. Okay, so we have discussed all the points regarding the skull. Okay, thank you so much.